Sitting here with the great Gary Gulman.
Oh, thanks, Artie.
Comic extraordinaire. You're a Boston guy.
Yeah.
Anybody, hopefully not, affected at all by the marathon thing that you know, indirectly, directly?
Well, I was affected by the manhunt.
Yeah, were you really?
Well, my girlfriend lives in one of the areas where you couldn't go out of your house.
Oh, man.
So that was like 3 hours on the phone with her. She panicked and
Was she
worried.
upset?
So the collateral damage reached me in Michigan, where I was
Right.
trying to have some road work and enjoy myself. And she's calling me and she's...
I'm trying to cheat on this broad. I'm in Michigan trying to cheat on this broad. She's all upset that there's a manhunt.
Yeah, but I wasn't affected. But it was nice to see Bostonians giving credit for being strong.
No, I know. I know. I mean, but people do like, it's very, especially with the Fox News and the 24-hour, the cycle and everything, like patriotism. Whenever there's a nugget of it, they really go nuts with it. You know? I mean, it is nice to see, but
yeah, but it was the same thing in New York. These aren't people who are going to lay down after this.
No, you're right.
But it's good because it makes them even more suspicious of strangers and dark-skinned people than Boston already was.
I mean, this already had that.
Oh my gosh, they just got a black baseball player in '86. Mo Vaughn was their third.
Jim Rice was their first. Jim Rice was the first guy.
Well, you know that new documentary. Well, it's a movie, I guess, about Pumpsy Green.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
He was the first black for the Red Sox in '81.
Pumpsy Green. But no, obviously we're doing what comedians tend to do. We exaggerate, but the Red Sox really did not have a black player.
No, it's not much of an exaggeration
1959,
at all.
right? I mean, 12 years.
Yeah,
I mean, how do you explain that?
And it wasn't like there was a gush and a flood of black players after that. There had to have been a quota.
Yeah, I mean, and look,
that Louis Tiant was somehow able to get through.
And the Yankees were not much better, by the way. I mean, Elston Howard was there first.
Howard,
he
that's
was,
right.
I mean, the Yankees were a good 7 or 8 years before they had a black player.
Yeah, I don't know what year that was.
I think he was probably dead. Try to look that up. When was Elston Howard's first year? I bet it was like 54, 55.
Okay.
I mean, I think it was 8 years after. And the other thing that's great about, obviously, the Celtics, even the sport of basketball, like they would, for a while, it was like they would go throughout the world to find a white guy.
Oh, my God.
Like they get Australian guys.
Yeah.
Like any white guy.
I remember all the black kids I played basketball with in the 80s hated the Celtics. Hated the Celtics. We lived in Boston. We hated the Celtics, loved Dr. J and the Lakers because the Celtics were so white.
I had the direct opposite thing in growing up in New York, in Knick country. I had a lot of buddies who were blatant Celtic fans, and it was just clearly because of racism.
Oh, yeah.
And they wouldn't admit to it. Like, really? You grew up like 4 miles from Madison Square Garden, and you're a Celtic fan. It has nothing to do with race. No, I just like them. I just, what's your problem? I just like the Celtics. What? I like the way they run a high pick and roll. What's the matter?
And they hated Kareem and Magic, but they loved Rambis. They loved Kurt Rambis.
What's that about? I don't like Rambis. What?
I like Kupchak and Rambis. I'm a Rambis Kupchak, and they would have all these.
I like
the tops. They would have the tank tops. Never had a black player.
I know.
It was always
like, how do they explain that?
Steve Nash.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, Boston kept it going. If you ask any black athlete who played in Boston, they all say, "Yeah, it's a little crazy."
Well, there are only like 3 places you can hang out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's not.
Boston is
not a diverse city. It's very
a small city.
Yeah.
Well, like I think we talked about this the other night. I think there's only about 400,000 people in Boston. Literally the amount of people that are within a 4-block radius of us right now.
There's a thing where there's a suburb, and that's huge because there are 50 cities that consider themselves a suburb of Boston, so they're adding a lot of people. But Boston itself is really small. It's almost like Manhattan.
Boston,
but, I mean,
half of Manhattan. But Boston's
the village, say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But Boston's a unique city because it's also known for its liberal politics. Very high. It's really one of the most fascinating places on the planet, Boston, and it's probably why a lot of funny people are from there.
But there are also like New England rednecks. Who are really out of it. I had this friend. He saw 42 and he just fell in love with Pee Wee Reese. This is his favorite player of all time because Pee Wee Reese, who's a white guy but he has a black name.
Yes.
He went over to Jackie Robinson to put his arm around him to quell the crowd or whatever like that. And I said, all right, that's great. Why isn't Jackie Robinson your favorite baseball player? And it's, well, He's black, you know. That's,
Like, what are you talking about?
grow up.
We're all friends here, right? Well, you played. Did you know that you played in Oakland? And by the way, do you know this guy, John Ritchie? He was an NFL player for 7 years.
Okay.
Played for the Raiders.
Yes,
as a
I know the name,
fullback.
and I probably had his football card.
And did you notice what was on the road? The crazy. We talked about Philly, obviously, but the craziest fans. Hater-wise.
No, listen. I think teams hated coming to Oakland because it was like Halloween every week.
No, I know, but
and
you on the road. Were you on the road?
If you were wearing
worrying about a
jersey.
shiving is tough.
Yeah.
But you on the road though.
Yeah.
What like I know Buffalo and Oakland was a crazy rivalry.
You know what though?
Fans.
I played up in Buffalo a bunch of times, and everywhere we went as a Raider, you had Raider fans who would kind of overpower the local fans.
They would?
They would show up at our bus. They would be at the hotel all
There's
week.
enough Raider fans to overpower the Bills Stadium?
Well, some of them were NWA,
That place-
Ice Cube, so they show up and nobody's going to say a word.
Right, exactly.
No, I felt like all we saw were Raider fans
Easy-E.
everywhere.
You try out yelling Easy-E at a game. Towards the end, when HIV took over, it was rough. But Easy was tough when he was healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, but really. So again, once again, you've quelled one of my questions.
It was very self-contained. Our existence on the road. We'd show up and it was just Raider fans. And really, they would somehow buy up a lot of the tickets at the away games.
Well, I had a
Huge following for the
strange
Raiders.
experience. You know the Punchline, the comedy club in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
I played there before I was on the Howard Stern show, and it was just like San Francisco people because I wasn't known at all. I was like middle there and stuff when I lived in L.A.
Really?
And after I got on Howard, it was a lot of crazy Oakland Raider guys who would come over. So I would do gigs. I would sell out, but it was all Oakland people. And in the heart of San Francisco, I would say the name Joe Montana and it would get booed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they looked like gang member crazy guys.
There's a real division in the Bay Area between East Bay and West Bay or San Francisco.
Right.
Like if you're from the East Bay, you stay true to the A's and the Raiders, and you do your best to just fill the seats.
Again, there's a great documentary. HBO Sports does the greatest documentaries. Gary, did you ever see this? I totally recommend it. You'd love it, and you would too, especially having played there. I think it's just called The A's and the Raiders, Oakland Sports in the 1970s. That's what it's like, a long, awkward title, but it's so amazing. And it's about how great the Raiders and A's were in the shadow of San Francisco, how great they were in the 70s. You know, the A's rattled off 3 in a row, and how much Finley was a nut owner, and how much Al Davis was a nut owner, but they were unbelievably successful, and how crazy the Raiders' summer camps.
Oh, I've heard so many stories.
Bikers ran the camp.
Yeah, so many stories. So many stories. The bars every night. The whole team was out at bars, getting in fights, busting people up, busting the bar up.
Best highlight ever. Cliff Branch, the great wide receiver for the Raiders.
Oh, he was awesome.
Like in training camp. This is the greatest. Ken Stabler overthrows him with a pass, and Branch gets mad, takes off his helmet still in the field of play, puts his helmet down, sits on it, lights a cigarette.
Come on. Oh, that's fantastic.
That's 70. We got to take a break. We'll come back with the great Gary Gulman. He's got some stuff to plug. He's going to hang. And I don't know if you knew how connected Borchetti was in Hollywood. He knows.
The
he
name
knows
dropping, the
Schmalafanac.
spam was just vulgar.
He's a real schmatora lover. We're going to come back with the great Gary Gulman right after this.